Boker Tov, Chodesh Tov. Today's daf is daf Kuf Samach 160. Daf Kuf Samach as we begin the last parak in Baba Basra in Masechet Nezikin. As we learned for Chenikol Beis Yisrael and Sun Batzar V'Shivya. Says the Mishnah, get Pashut Eida Mitocho. There's two kinds of gittin. And we say get, we normally think of a get Isha, but get really means a document, even though we've said many times that it usually refers to an Isha, that we use the term in common language get, and there's also a reason get is gematria, gimel, and tes is 12, and that's why the get's written with 12 lines, all kinds of reasons that are brought down, but really the get means any document. It means a loan, a bill of sale, or an IOU, a loan document. It refers to any of those. But the Mishnah is telling us that there's two kinds of getting. Two kinds of shtarot. Get pashut, eida mitocha. A regular get, a regular shtar is written, and I say get means either get isha or shtar or an IOU or whatever, a bill of sale. The eidim are signed on the same page that the text is on. You have a text, like any other document, like we normally know a document. You have a text, it's written on one page, and the eidim are signed at the bottom, right? They're testifying to what took place above. Get pashu edim mitocho. Mukusha, there's another kind of a get, another kind of a document, one that's tied up, stitched together. We'll talk about that. Eidim of the eidim are on the back. Now, what do you mean it's stitched up? How does that work? So we'll see. Pashu shekas edim mitocho. Now, what it really means is a regular get pashut, a simple, straightforward, plain get. We know what that means. You write it on one side, and the eidim are signed at the bottom. On the one that's stitched up, we'll see why would you do that. The rabbi said that there's two kinds. It depends on the minig of the place, but one that's stitched up is what they would normally do, according to the way Rashbam learns. They would write a line and then skip a line, leave a line blank. Write another line and skip a line. Now, the lines we're talking about are the lines of the Torah, the part that's particular to this, the names, the date, the place, things like that, the date, all those things that are particular to this get, not the boilerplate. The boilerplate could be written straight, but this part is written on alternate lines, and then they fold it up. They fold up the document so that the blank line covers up the other line, and they stitch it together. And they do it several times. Usually it's at least 3 times, as we'll see, because it's got to have 3 eidim signed on it. And the eidim are signed on the reverse side, on the kesher. You fold it up, you stitch it, and then the eidim are signed on that line. We'll see if it's on that line or if it's vertical, if it's perpendicular to the tsav on the front. But in any case, the eidim are signed on the back. So he tells you, get pasha eidim mitocha, makusha eidim yachorov. Let's say a regular document. If I have a regular document and eidim are signed on the back, of course it's no good, because what are they signed on? Nothing. They're not signed anything that took place above, right? Or makusha. Let's say it was makushar. It was this kind of a stitched up get, and the eidim are written inside. They're both puzzle. Now, that's going to be an argument about that. When we say they're both puzzle, it means you cannot divorce a woman with it. If you gave her a get that was written not the way the rabbi said, a plain one, the eidim are signed on the back, or a makusha one, the eidim are signed on the front, she's not divorced. And if it's an IOU or a bill of sale, it's invalid. A makusha, if it was stitched up, a stitched up get, that the eidim were written on the inside, if the inside it's kosher, because you can unstitch it. There's nothing wrong. In other words, if it's a plain one that the eidim are signed on the back, that wouldn't be good, because what are they signing on? But if it's a makusha, the eidim are signed on the inside where the text is, that's not so bad, because you could always unstitch it and then it'll be like a pashut. So Rab Chanina ben Gamliel says that's okay. It depends on the minig of the place. The Gemara will explain what the machlokus is between Shem Gamliel and the Chachamim. According to Shem Gamliel, says, it's like minig Medina, but you're not so makbid. If everybody does this one, he says do it that way. He did it the other way, maybe not so bad. If some places the minig is they do both, you can get a pashut or a makushar. And if the person ordering the document wanted it one way and the guy did it the other way, that's really give me the machlokes from Gamliel and the Chachamim. We'll see the Gemara. Get pashut eidim shtayim. A get pashut, you need, of course, 2 eidim. We know al pishnayim eidim al pishosh eidim yakum davar. You always have to have 2 eidim on a star. So get pashut normally has 2. You could have more, but a minimum is 2. Makusha b'shlosha. Makusha has to have at least 3. At least 3. It means 3 folds, 3 stitches, and 3 signed on the back. Pashta Kasab Ba'ed Echad. If a Pashta was written by one aid, obviously, or Makusha Kasab Shneim Psul. Again, it's a davar pashut. It's a davar pashut that a pashut that only has one aid. One aid doesn't do anything. One aid can be mechayiv another guy a shvua. The opposite side, right? If I'm arguing with you and I say you owe me $100 and you say you owe me nothing, and I have an aid on my side, so I can force you to make a shvua. But normally, you need two adim. That's the rule of the Torah. So a pashut that was written only with one aid, that's certainly no good. The chiddush is that even a makusher that was written with two aid is no good because the rabbi said you have to have three adim on that. These are the rules of these. Now, what's the reason why you would have a makusher at all? We don't know that yet. Why would you have a makusher? Just have a regular document. You write it on one side. You might have 20 pages. What do we do when there's a document today? You go to the lawyers and make you sign on each page or initial each page to show you that you've read that and you agree to it, etc. You sign at the bottom.
Why three?
Why three? Okay, so the rabbi said, why have a makusher at all? Why even have this makusher at the back? And said, we'll see that in the Gemara. See it in the Gemara. But the Adam normally, you sign a document, you write a document, and the Adam are signed usually right underneath it, right at the end of the text, right? If the Adam are signed too far away, that's not good because you could stick something else in between. You know, a man once wrote a sefer, and he wanted a haskama, an approbation from some chashuv rabbi. So he went to him, and he didn't want to give it to him, and he didn't want to he didn't want to put his name on it. He didn't want to sign. Finally, he said he kept imploring on him, please sign, give me a recommendation. At the beginning of the book, that this guy approves of an approbation. So he wrote a few lines, I agree, or something. He wrote something nice about him. And then he skipped all the way to the bottom, left a big space there, and signed at the bottom. So they said to him, why'd you do that? He says, well, midvar sheker tirchak, like stay away. Because, there's a reason why there's a lot of space. If you leave a lot of space there, then you could forge it. So that's the normal idea is you write a get pashut, you write everything, and then you sign it at the bottom. We'll see there's another thing that the Gemara is going to say, that at the end of the text you write hakol shiur v'kayam. This is all confirmed and established. Like that's the end. So that's the end of the text, so people can't stick things in between. Okay. Minon Emili. Where do you get this idea that there's two kinds of stars, a regular one, a plain one, and a makusher? The pasuk says this. Pasuk says in Yirmiyah, "Sados b'kesef yiknu." You should acquire fields with kesef, as we know. You can acquire kesef. You can acquire karka with kesef shtar chazaka. V'ksob b'sefer, write it in a book, meaning write it in a document for chasom and have it signed. V'oed edom, and procure edom to sign it. So how do we see from there that there's two kinds of edom? Sados b'kesef yiknu. If you fields should be acquired with money, because if you write a document, what document? Zeh pashut, that's the regular one. V'chasom, that means you sign it. How do you sign it? Zeh makusha, that's hinting. There's two kinds. It says write it on a document, that's a pashut. Chasom, sign it. How do you sign it? With makusha, that hints at the makusha. This is a drasha. You're learning out from that pasuk. V'oed, give testimony shnayim, because normally eight is always two, as the pasuk says. As Gemara says in Sota, 8, it's 2 until the pasuk says 8 echad, as it says, well, yokum 8 echad. 8 echad, here it's 8 echad, normally 8 is 2. Adim, says Adim, that's 3. Okay, so which one is it? You have a pashut and a makusher, Adim 2, Adim 3, okay, it said Shnaim lepashut, 2 Adim for a pashut, Shlosh makusher, 3 for a makusher. So maybe it's 3 on a pashut and 2 on a makushar, 2 Adim on a makusher. Maybe I'll switch around. Assuming now that we're learning this out of a pasuk, that it's something of a doraisa. Obviously, it's a pasuk in Tanakh. It's not exactly a mitzvah in the 613 mitzvahs, right? But he says since we're machmer, since the pasuk is machmer, b'kshav, that you have to go to the extent of stitching it up. Because you have to have this is only 3 in this Beta, we have more Adim too. Rashi since you have to go to the effort. Obviously, if you just write a document, you could you write it all out and sign it at the bottom, and that's it. Here you have to stitch it up. So since we're machmer stitching it, we're machmer also on the Adim. That's what we assume. That's one pasuk. Rafam learns out from a different pasuk. The pasuk is also pasuk here, but famous pasuk. A sefer amakna, right? When they went into Golus, they wanted to write it down so that they'll know who owned what. They knew they were going into Golus and they were going to return, and they wanted to know who owned what land. A sefer amakna. I took this book or this scroll of acquisition, etachatum, that was signed. Ha-mitzvah b'achukim, the terms and condition that's like only the one that was revealed, the one that was open. So what does that mean? Sefer Makna zeh pashut. Okay, that's a regular, plain, simple document all on one page. Et chatum zeh makusher. Again, like we said before, chatum means the one that's stitched up. That's like galui. Zeh pashut sheba makushar. Galui means it's revealed, it's exposed. This is the pashut part of the makushar. What do we mean by that? I said at the beginning that the makushar part, what part do you stitch up? Do you fold over? The part that's the Torah, the part that has the names, the dates, the place, right? The part that's particular to this document. The other part, the part that's boilerplate, that's standard, that you could leave open. In other words, the document wasn't like folded up like an accordion, the whole document. Only the parts that were the Torah, that was sealed up, folded over. In other words, you wrote it on one line, left the next line blank, and folded it over and stitched it up and signed it on the back. Only the parts of the Torah, but most of the document, which is boilerplate, was left open, meaning the text was exposed. So that's what it means. It's like pashut makusher. These are the halachas that differentiate between pashut and makusher. Okay, it said zaid of shnaim. The pashut, regular document, regular get, has 2 edim. The zaid of shloshim, makusher has to have 3. Zaid of mitocha. On the pashut, the edim are on the inside, right? Meaning on the text side. The zaid of machorab. And the makushar has the edim on the reverse side of the text. Again, maybe switch it around. Maybe have 3 on the pashut, 3 edim on the pashut, and 2 on the makushar. Again, since the pasuk is machmer that you have to go to the trouble of stitching it up, Nisra Beta Visa machmer also, and say you have more edim. A third pasuk, Rav Meir Shapiro from this pasuk, al pi shnayim edim, or al pi shlosh edim. This is the pasuk in the Chumash. You have to have 2 or 3 witnesses. If all you need to verify, to confirm the document is 2 edim, whether it's a document or testimony in court. Why did it tell you 3? In other words, if 2 is good, of course 3 is good. What do you need 3 for? Just say 2. What does it say? 2, 3, 4, or 5? What does it say? 2 or 3? To tell you 2 for a pashut. Shnayim lepashut, shloshel makusher. That's its pasuk. That's more of a that sounds like a it's more of a straight drasha, right? The other ones you have to really figure out. Chatom means makusher, voed edim, aid means 1, aid means 2 edim, edim means 3. Edim means 3. These are pretty hard to figure out. This is pretty simple. It says 2 or 3 edim. Why did it say 2 or 3? If 2 is good, 3 is for sure good. What do you need 3? 2 is for a pashut, 3 is for makusher. Maybe the other way around. Maybe it's 3 for the pashut and 2 for the makusher. 3 for the pashut and 2 for the makusher. Again, since the Torah was machmir. Again, this is a pasuk in Chumash. The Torah is machmir. You have to have that has to be stitched up. This Rabbi Edav, you have to have more edim also. Okay. Says the Gemara, do you think these 3 psukim are really telling me this drasha to teach you the idea, the source? How do you know that there's such a thing as get makusher? It's a weird thing. A normal shtar, a get, when we say get again, it doesn't mean just get isha, means any document, an IOU or a bill of sale or anything. So where do you it's a strange thing. And you're saying you learned it based on these pasuk? Is that what these psukim are really telling you? So these psukim are really for this Russian. Each one of these psukim that you just quoted has its own drasha. Look at Tanya. Saras because Yirmiyahu told them, listen, we're all going into Gullus. When you come back, in 70 years or whenever you come back, who's going to know what land belongs to whom, right? Who this house belongs to this guy. Meanwhile, other people have taken it over, right? So it's a good idea. Write it down. These fields that you have, these houses, write it down. It's a kamashma. You should have proof that you don't have to go look for Adam. The Adam are dead, whatever it was. What about that second pasuk? That was a story. He's just telling you, I took the Sefer Makna. He's just telling you the story over there. He's not teaching us anything. That was the history. It was a historical fact. I took the Sefer. He's relating an incident. What is that drasha for? To tell me that 3 is like 2, but plukted Rabbi Kiva Rabbanan in the Machlokes Rabbi Kiva Rabbanan in Mesechet Makos. What does it say over there? In other words, it's not these 3 psukim are not to teach me the idea of get pasha, get makusher. They each have their own reason. One is simply to teach Eitz Tova. One is to teach you that was just the historical fact. And this Al Pishnayim Edom Shal Sha'edim is a famous Mishnah in the first parak of Makos. There it says, if all you need is 2 Edom, Lama, why I tell you 3? To tell you that 3 is like 2. So the Tanakama says, just like 3 can be Mazim Shnayim, can say, listen, 3 Edom could tell 2 people, you were with us in St. Louis on that day at that time, and therefore you're lying, right? 3 could be 2. 2 could also be Mazim 3, because there's nothing stronger than 2 Edom. If you have 2 Edom saying one thing and 100 Edom saying the other thing, that's considered they knock each other out. In other words, even if you have 2 against 100, 2 could be Mazim. Rav Shimon says the in other words, 2 Edom who are liars, you have to be Mazim both of them. For Mazim one of them, you say, listen, I know one of them, Reuven, was with me in St. Louis on that day. You have 2 people saying Reuven was with us in St. Louis that day, but you weren't Mazim Shimon, then they're not Eid Azama. Same way 3. You can't be Mazim, just like 2, you have to be Mazim both of them, with 3 also. In other words, why does it tell you 2 or 3 Edom? If 2 are good, 3 is good. 3 is for sure good. To teach me that 2 and 3 are the same. In what sense? Just like 3 could be Mazim 2, could be Mazim 3. But Shimon says it's to teach me that you can't be Mazim them until you Mazim all of them. So if there were 3 of them, you don't kill them if they were liars until you do all of them. How do you know of 100? Talmud Lomar, Edom, telling you that even if there were 100 and you're Mazim all, you have to be Mazim all. If you're Mazim 99 out of 100, that's not a Zomar. Rabbi Kiva Omer, this is what our Gemara refers to. This Machlokas Rabbi Kiva and the Rabbanan. How do you dash it? That's 2 is like 3. 2 is like 3, either like the Tanakama who said that 2 could be Mazim 3 or 4 or 5 or 100. Reb Shimon says you have to be Mazim all of them. Rabbi Kiva says, you might say, listen, there's Edom, these are liars. But I don't know about that 3rd guy. Why should we kill the 3rd or the 4th guy? It's enough just to be Mazim 2. Why should you kill? Since you could be Mazim 2 of them and that would be considered Asama, maybe discount the 3rd one and don't, excuse him from the court. You're recused from this case. And that's a Tamis and Rashbam, and here the Mefarsh explains. You shouldn't say, since Edom can make him 2, what do you need the 3rd one for? Therefore, let's not do it. Let Lo Yasabo Din Azama. So don't make Azama on the 3rd guy. Let him off because you can be Mazim just the 2. In other words, if you're Mazim 3 Edom testified something, and you're Mazim all of them. The 3rd guy can say, listen, you didn't need me anyway. Why should you kill me? I really wasn't part of this. No. The Hachman tell me that 2 is like 3 and 3 is like 2. So you have these different reasons why the pasuk says Al Pishnayim Edom Shlosh to tell you that 2 is like 3 and 3 is like 2. That's what it's for. So none of these are valid sources for this idea of get pasha, get mashur. Kusha, what are you talking about? Where did this come from? Ella says the Gemara, back in our Gemara, right? Ella makushim rabbanan. The truth is that it's not min Torah. Makusher is a special kind of a stitched up document that the rabbis enacted. And why? Because they relied on these psukim to hint at the idea. It's just an asmach. The kids remember, an asmach is like, I rely on the pasuk, but it's really rabbanim. But the rabbis related it, these psukim, maybe for to give it more authority and to make it easier to remember. The time of Ma'atikin Rabbanan Makusher. Why did the Rabbanan make such a Makusher document? Just have a straight document. You have the text on one side and the Edom are signed at the bottom. If it's multiple pages, so you write Sharir V'Kaim at each page, or you make some indication so that they can't cheat. But it basically, in those days, it was all on scrolls anyway, usually, right? So they have just a longer scroll. It's a 1-page document, and you signed it at the bottom. So why did the rabbis make this stitching business? Asur de Kahanim, there was a city of Kohanim, V'havekapte Tuva, and the Kohanim, Mepharshim deal with this. Why are the Kohanim considered more particular, get angry, easy to get angry? There's reasons for them. Some say because of their high madregi, the greater a person is, sometimes the greater. Said Rav Moshe Feinstein took him years to control his anger. He said, the rabbi, he will count to 10 before you get angry. Or there was a rabbi, I don't know if it was Rav Moshe Feinstein, who said, whenever he gets angry, he has to put on his angry coat. So as soon as the anger, I got to get that coat. Till he got the coat and put it on, and he calmed down. So here, he was afraid like this. These Kohanim, says Asra, or an area of the Kohanim were, maybe it's that city or whatever, the Kohanim were very makbid. and they would get angry easily. They would get angry at the wife, and then they would give them a get real quick. Okay, that's it. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not taking out the garbage and write a get and give her a get and throw a get in front of two people. And then, of course, once the Kohen divorces his wife, he cannot take her back because she's a grusha. So the Rona Takana, that they say, listen, if you the Kohanim, if you're going to give a get, you have to give it in this way. You have to write it, and the Torah part where you put the names, the dates, and the city, etc. You have to do it this way. Leave a line blank between each one, fold it over, stitch it up, and have Adam sign on the back. So while it's a lengthy procedure, out of hachi, since it took so long, mess with the tile, they'll calm down, right? They'll calm down. So the Gemara says, Gittin, that's fine for Gittin, for Gittei Nashim. The reason is because of these Kohanim. Shtaros, Michael, what are you going to say about Shtaros? A regular Shtar, an IOU, has nothing to do with that. This is not anger. We don't make a difference between Gittei Nashim and Shtaros. Again, as we said, a get is also a Shtar. A get is just get. Normally we refer to it as get Isha, but a get means any Shtar, right? It means any Shtar, any IOU sale or get Isha. We don't want to make a difference between them, so we say, listen, these are the rules. If the minig is to write a get, but now it didn't say that in every city they did that. It didn't say that every Kohen had to do that. It said that area that there was a city of Kohanim who got very angry, so the rabbis enacted it that the Kohanim generally should do that, and then it became a minig even for IOUs and bills of sale, etc. Depending on the place. Where did the Adam sign? Where did the Adam sign? In other words, on a regular document they sign at the bottom. Where did the Adam sign on this get Mekusher? So Rafuna says they sign between each and every stitch, We're assuming now that it meant in the front of the document. For Rav Yirmiyah, Barab Omer Achori Eksav, behind it, Ukeneged Eksav. So Rafuna says, Ben Kesher Kesher, okay, that could easily be maybe Rav Huna, right? Rashbam says over here that Rav Huna Ben Kesher Kesher, we're assuming it's on the inside, between each stitch, but on the inside. Rav Yirmiyah Achori Eksav, behind it, Ukeneged Eksav, Mibuchutz, on the outside. Only Rav Marcham the Rav Chisda, the Rav Huna don't Ben Kesher Kesher. We're assuming we're assuming it's on the inside. But how could it be on the inside? I'll tell you a story that it didn't happen on the inside. Why? There was a get Mekusha, the Kosakam Rebbe came before Rebbe. There was a mishpat there, whatever. It came before Rebbe, whether it was a get Isha or whatever. But Rebbe, Ain's mom said, I don't see a date here. There's no date. You have to have a date on a document, right? It's not in a Torah, but we learn the reasons, right? Or a question of when did the getting take place, so that the husband's allowed to eat the produce, the shvach of the karka, of his wife's karka. So he gives her a get, and then they had a bumper crop, and he said, no, I gave her the get after the summer, after the crop, so he can get so you have to have a get to prevent that kind of hanky-panky. The Amar Rabbi, Ain's man bezeh. There's no date. Amalei Rab Shimon Rebbe, Reb Shimon told his father, Rebbe, Shema Bank Sharav Muvla. Maybe the date is between the stitches. In other words, you can't see it because it's stitched up. Bank Sharav Muvla, it's swallowed up in there. In other words, it's inside the stitches. Polya, they ripped it open. V'chazar, he saw the date. Okay, wait a minute. But if the Adam are also signed on the inside the stitches, like on the side of the text, V'misa, if the Adam are signed there, Rebbe should have said, Ein Zman Bezev, Ein Adam Bezev. I don't see the Zman or the Adam. Why did you just say there's no Zman? Boy, that's what he should have said. He should have said, I don't see a Zman, I don't see Adam. So they ripped it up and they found the Zman. But he should have said, I don't see the Adam either. Elamai, Amalei. So he answered him. It was Rav Chisda answered, Rav Chisda, according to Rav Huna, we assume that Rav Huna said they're signed. Again, we said, what's the machal? Rav Huna says, Bein Kesher L'Kesher, between each and every Kesher. And between each stitch, and Rav Meir Shapiro said behind the ksav, opposite the text, opposite the text. So Amalei, so he asked Rav Chisda, Rav Chacham asked Rav Chisda, according to Rav Huna, that's on the inside. We have a story indicating that it was on the outside. Amalei, Misa Ben Kesher Kesher. You think it's between each stitch, between the stitches on the inside? Lo, Ben Kesher Kesher Rav Roy. It's between the stitches on the outside, and it's between each stitch, it's there. Okay, so what's the difference then between Rav Yirmiyah, between Rav Huna? Rav Huna says Ben Kesher Kesher. Rav Yirmiyah Barabba says Achorei Ksav, behind the Ksav, Ukeneged Ksav. not necessarily between the stitches, but opposite the text, right? So that's the machlokes. So v'nechesh dilma zayif, if everybody agrees that it's on the outside, right? If everybody agrees that it's on the outside, whereas v'nira Rashbam says l'kesher b'avroy v'nira edim bein charitze aksharim can appreciate masisa. In other words, it's between bein kesher l'kesher v'nira advarim bein charitze aksharim. It's between the stitches. You could see the edim sign there. Okay, so v'nechesh dilma zayif v'kosem boy. If it's written, if the edim are written on the back side, this is maybe according to everybody, it's written on the back keneged aksav. But why aren't you concerned that on the front where you have the text, he's going to forge it, right? If the edim are signed at the bottom, right? So you say, okay, they signed and everything is above that. But if they're signed on the back, why aren't you concerned that on the front, maybe you'll add something and forge it? All right, v'nechesh dilma zayef v'kosem boy v'chasimi sadi, and the edim are signed on the back, right? The edim are signed on the back, so you can't tell the edim are signed on the back. You don't know what they're signed on, so to speak. You don't know what they're signed on. They're just signed on the back. Right, so Rashbam says on this words the edim are signed at the Torah part at the top where you have the date and the names, etc. If they're not signed at the bottom, why aren't you concerned that why aren't you concerned that it's going to be forged? You can add something at the bottom. Maybe according to Rav Meir who said it's keneged aksav. Rav Meir who said it's on the. They both agree now that it's on the back. Remember, said opposite the writing. So you could say, okay, they're signed only where there's ksav, where there's writing. So you could say the edim are signed up until this point, and anything further would look like a forgery. But if you say that it's signed between the stitches, and the stitches are at the top where you have the toref, so then they're signed at the top. And then the guy could add whatever he wants, any other conditions he might add on and forge it and put at the bottom. The answer to Chsibek Shiur v'Kayim, as we said, the end is like says the end. At the end it says I call Shiur v'Kayim, right? It's all confirmed and established, meaning that's the very end. So maybe so maybe after it says Shiur v'Kayim, he'll write some more because the edim aren't signed on that document. The edim are signed on the back at the top. So here they could add some, he could forge, make some more conditions, and then he'll write some more, and then write another Shiur v'Kayim. So this is Chat Shiur v'Kayim Kasvinan, Trei Shiur v'Kayim Lo Kasvinan. You don't write Shiur v'Kayim is like the end. If it says the end twice, you would see something is suspicious, and you wouldn't accept the second one. Pardon?
This is a pusher thing. Somebody can come along and rip out the knots and replace it with another star. You know what I'm saying? In other words,
rip out the knot, so you you have it unfolded, but you still have the edim signed on the back. Yeah.
Separate two pieces into two pieces.
No, it's one piece. As soon as it's two pieces, it's suspicious.
What does the kusha mean?
The kusha means it's one piece. It's just stitched up. It's like folded up and stitched up, folded up and stitched up. It's one document. It's one scroll. So if you had two Shiur v'Kayim, the Gemara says that would obviously look suspicious. You only write one. But so maybe he'll do this. Maybe he'll on the front he'll erase the Shiur v'Kayim. He'll erase that part, and because my boy and write what he wants. For Hadakas of Shiur v'Kayim. In other words, you can't write Shiur v'Kayim twice. Maybe he'll erase the first Shiur v'Kayim. He'll erase it, put something else there, and then write Shiur v'Kayim then. Let's say he wrote a document and he forgot to include something, so he writes it between the lines. But at the end, they always write at the end, by the way, and we're including in line number 7, this correction is included there too. So if it's suspended, like the words are suspended, and then it says at the end, we in line number 7, that's that thing that we folded in. It's like, you put a little caret in there to insert something, and then you sign on it. So you hear the idea. At the end, we say Shiur v'Kayim on that. The insert in line number 7 is okay. That's okay, kshera. But machak. But if it's erased. If we see an erasure at the end there, then we know it's puzzle. Even though you write at the end Shiur v'Kayim, but if in the place where it should have said Shiur v'Kayim and near the end you see there that there was an erasure, then you know something is wrong. When do we say so? If it's at the end of the document and there's an erasure there, and then they wrote something there, like you filled something in the space that it would take to write Shiur v'Kayim, then we know it's suspicious. But if, let's say, you erase something in the middle of the document, that's okay. You erase something in the middle of the document and filled it in, and at the bottom you said, okay, that insertion or that erasure that we wrote over is okay, and we established that, that's fine. So the point is if you write a get makusher, which was originally established for the Kohanim, that they should take their time in divorcing their wives and think about it. But once it became a custom in certain places, we'll see that was the custom to write that way. Certain places it wasn't. It's valid both for a get isha or for other star. But it has all these stipulations. It has the stipulations that the Adam have to be on the back, not on the front. You have to have, as we'll see, as many stitches there are. That's how many Adam. You need at least 3. Because you have to have three stitches and 3. You could have more, but as many as well. So the Gemara is still going to say, yeah, but you could still forge it. You could still forge it because the Adam apparently signed at the top on the back side, and the thing goes on to the bottom. Isn't this going to lead to other possible forgeries? So we'll see in tomorrow's Gemara that he could hold that the Adam are not signed the same way, horizontally, the same way as the text is on the front, but they're signed vertically. So they're signed their names so that their name covers up or goes across all the text on the front. We'll see that tomorrow. Have a good day. Chodesh Tov l'kulam.
Still don't know. We don't have a solid answer to Avram's question about why 3 under the push-up.
Why? Why what?
All the reasons they gave were sort of like ex post facto reasons.
No. For the Kohanim. What do you mean?
No. The pusher is for why you need 3 Adam.
Right. Why you need 3 Adam?
Yeah.
Oh, because you need one signed on each of the folds. Yeah.
If you only have 2 folds, you only need 2
But no, but you need 3 folds. You need 3 folds and you need 3 Adam. That was the takana. Again, 3 Adam, even without the folds, the 3 Adam was because we wanted to make you take your time. You have to find the 3rd aid. You have to make sure, because we want this to go slowly. So that's the idea. That's why you need at least 3. And if you only had 2, it's no good. Even though Menat Torah, 2 Adam on anything is good, right? But the rabbi said no, it's no good. And kol mashana mimatbeh shetavu chachamim begitten over kedushin. If you change anything the rabbi said, it's no good. It's not a get. And if she gets married with that, of Vlad Mamzer, it's a famous line, right? Right? Kol mashana mimatbeh shetavu chachamim, Yotzi v'Vlad Mamzer.